You're watching News 24 Live. Welcome to our Thursday Super Rugby preview and prediction show. Today we are looking ahead to round 13 with our Sport 24 rugby panel editor Garen Lamley and chief rugby writer Rob Howing. Gentlemen, good morning.
Morning, Nick.
5 rounds left. Garen, business end of the tournament, so to speak. Let's talk Friday morning. Crusaders up against the Reds. I believe it could be Richie McCaw and Dan Carter's last home game.
Absolutely.
Two icons in that part of the world.
Yeah, or two of the greatest rugby players of all time, I'll go as far as to say. Yeah, it's a sad day. Obviously, if it is their last game, the Crusaders aren't looking too good for a playoff spot, and I think that obviously means that they're unlikely to return to Christchurch and play any more games. Even though they've got some home games, they're not going to be played in Christchurch. So hopefully a fantastic crowd turns out for a game that I think the Crusaders will feel fairly confident that they will win. The Reds obviously have struggled this season towards the bottom of the log. They're certainly out of the playoff contention. Hopefully that means they throw around the ball a little bit. Crusaders team, you know, they've blown hot and cold. They've been fantastic at times, but they seem to have fallen short just on a few too many occasions to give them a shot at making the playoffs. I think I wouldn't be surprised if there's a sort of coaching change at the Crusaders for next season. Todd Blackadder hasn't really done much for the team since taking over. They're 7 times champions, which is the record by some distance, but they haven't won it in 7 years. So, you know, they've got fantastic players, a lot of them moving on. Richie McCaw coming to the end of his career rather. Dan Carter off to France along with a couple of other players. But just for this match, I think the Crusaders are going to get the weekend off to a winning start. Again, you know, they're going to be looking for that bonus point try, throwing the ball around. I expect them to win, maybe even score the 4 tries, pick up a bonus point. They pretty much have to win every single remaining game, which means they'll take points off their direct opponents in the New Zealand Conference. So Crusaders to win by 10 points for me.
Okay, of course, they always seem to make the playoffs. I mean, they've got that mentality with sort of 7 titles under their belts.
I suppose you make the playoffs, you're in with a shot, no matter where you play. It's knockout rugby. You know, you don't have to try and score the bonus points. You can just knock over your direct opponents and move on from there. So, but I think they might just fall short this year.
Okay. Rob, next up, the Rebels versus the Blues. Now, the Rebels have actually had quite a good season, considering they're the sort of newbies in the tournament.
Yeah, they're looking surprisingly sort of in decent shape by this stage of the season. They haven't had too many injuries, so they've had a reasonably stable sort of side, and they've started to sort of see a few benefits. I mean, that victory against the Chiefs, I think it upset us all last weekend. We certainly didn't see that one coming. I've got to say they really put in a passionate effort in that one. And I almost wonder if that didn't almost sort of burn them out for this week. What I'm saying, I suppose, is I've got a sneaky feeling that's the Blues who put 41 points on the Western Force, I think it was, last week, in a reasonably high-scoring game. I know they conceded a few themselves. We know the Blues' defence is not necessarily the best at times, so anything's possible with them. But I'm just fancying a little bit of an away victory here. I've got a feeling that the Blues will, especially having banked a full house last time out, will be feeling a little bit more chipper about life, thinking, you know, look, we're not in the playoffs hunt, but we can still move up a few notches on the table for a more respectable finish. A little bit more pride kind of starting to come in there, and I've tipped them for a very tight away win in Melbourne.
Okay. Rob, I'm going to stay with you. First game on Saturday morning, first South African game. The Sharks up against the Hurricanes. You know, the Sharks are breaking our hearts every week in, week out. They've gone for a new halfback combination, I see this week. Tell us more about this Stefan Ongera. He's pairing up with, I don't know if I pronounced that right.
Yeah.
Pairing up with Lionel Cronje.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a rookie in Super Rugby terms, which is not a good sign at this point. Kobus Reinach, as we know, has had to quit the tour, which is not what they needed, because he's the one guy who, for all the flaws he's had this season, because his play had also suffered a bit in line with the whole Sharks kind of implosion in a sense, but he's still a sort of dynamic player, and with that sort of nippy breaking ability that they needed around the fringes. Ongera is not, I don't think, nearly in the sort of same league as an explosive player. I think his his task will really be to just sort of make sure that he does the basics properly, gives a decent service to Lionel Cronje. Cronje also a little bit of a journeyman on the sort of domestic stage. He's been to a few franchises. Not the worst guy to have, I suppose, in a crisis, which is what they do have. I think there might have been some temptation to put Frans Steyn in the fly-half channel, but I see that they've actually got him at 12 with JP Peterson still playing at 13. I'm not too convinced about him. So question marks about that whole sort of 9, 10, 12, 13 area at the moment, especially as Frans Steyn will probably be a little bit rusty after sitting out a few weeks with a suspension. So I'm afraid I'm not expecting great things from the Sharks collectively. Very hard to see them winning. Their best hope perhaps is that they might just sneak a losing bonus point for finishing within 7, partly because the Hurricanes are a little bit weakened themselves. A couple of their own explosive players like Mr. Savia, Perinara, one or two others not in the mix this week. So you could say they're a little bit vulnerable, but looking at the league positions, I mean, it should be a no contest, and perhaps will be. But I think the Sharks might just hang in there. I think they're under pressure to produce at least a gutsy sort of performance this week. So hopefully we'll see that at the very least.